Okay, because I think we should be fine. Keep the lobbying for that tree next to the cabin that was cut down, and the city actually cut it down yesterday. So I think you should pay a fine for that tree. It's just like you don't know.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning is by Mimi Becker. Please stand.
This is a prayer that was translated from the Lakota Sioux Chief Yellow Lark in 1887. And I think it's appropriate for us today. O great spirit, whose voice we hear in the winds and whose breath gives life to all the world, hear us. We need your strength and wisdom. Let us walk in beauty and make our eyes ever hold the red and purple sunset. Make our hands respect the things you have made and our ears sharp to hear your voice. Make us wise so that we may understand the things you have taught our people. Let us learn the lesson you have hidden in every leaf and rock until it is first known that true peace is within our souls. Help us find compassion without empathy overwhelming us. We seek strength not to be greater than our brothers and sisters, but to fight our greatest enemy, ourselves. Make us always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes, so that when life fades as the fading sunset, our spirits may come to you without shame. Amen.
Thank you, Mimi. And lead us in the pledge and four-way test. Kelly Brennan.
Good morning. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now I'm going to consume a little bit of your time. Does everybody know where this test came from? Does everybody know the history of the four-way test? I'm here to inform you. It was actually created in 1932, but it wasn't for Rotary. The gentleman's name was, hang on a second. Where is his name? Herbert Taylor, and he ran a company called Club Aluminum Company in Chicago, which actually made pots and pans, and it was near bankruptcy. So he created, which was a larger test, condensed it down, still thought it needed to be condensed a little bit more, and ultimately came up with the four-way test. And then it didn't get adopted till Rotary for many, many years later. And so our four-way test is 70 years for us. but actually was created in the early 20s for with Mr. Taylor. So if you'll join me, number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And now our president, Father Joe Boisel.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests. First thing is we're still continuing to collect items for NAMI. I think that's the way we say it. Some would be, in Canada, it would probably be NAMI. You know how they do pasta instead of pasta. Anyway, so NAMI, things, household type items, toilet brushes, what else? Toilet paper, is that part of it, Terry? I'll repeat it. James, I'll repeat it. Go ahead. James, I'll repeat it. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Terry. Okay. Solvents as well as like brushes and sponges and that sort of thing, right? So cleaning utensils for the home, trying to help set up a house for somebody. So any of those type items will work. And I assume they're old fashioned as well and probably would take cash, right? Okay, so always, yes. I love old fashioned people, don't you? I'm very old fashioned in that way too. There was something else that's totally slipping my mind, and I'm not sure what it was, but service learning. That's where we were going. I knew there was something. I looked back and I saw y'all. So we have an update from Hudson High School Service Learning. So if y'all would come forward and. Do you guys say pasta or pasta? 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 Universal. We need some Canadians. There you go.
Right. Well, good morning, Rotary. Absolutely lovely to see you. Start of a new academic year for us. Very excited to be here. So of course, I'm Marty Bach, one of the service learning coordinators. We're already about a month into the school year, and we're off to a fantastic start. So we have a new group of seniors, 85 this year. All raring to go. We have some new sites this year. Harris Jackson Elementary School down in the North Hill neighborhood of Akron. So if you remember, you helped us last year with a number of outreach to North Hill for the refugee population there. So out of that, we were able to make more connections. So we're into that elementary school where some of our students are working soon to be this morning. 100% of the students there are English second language learners. Everyone. So it's a real eye opener for our students. They're learning a lot of great skills just 20 minutes down the road. So it's been a great start to the school year. Just one example of what we're doing. We of course have a couple students with us today to talk to you. The first one I wanted to introduce to you is Emma Palmer. And Emma's going to talk to you a bit about her service experience and her sites.
Hi, I'm Emma, and I am placed at Eastwood. So I'm working with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And my site supervisor is a guidance counselor. So I'm assigned to certain kids who maybe need an extra friend or are going through some family issues and just need a little extra support. So I can go and play games with them if they need, or just take them out of the classroom and go for a walk maybe. And I also go out to recess with the kids and go to lunch with them. And I'm just a friend for them. So over the summer, I served at a church for volunteer hours, and I also worked in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. So I love volunteering, and it's just really gratifying, especially being at Eastwoods, because I was one of them, and I would love to help the next generation of kids just like me. Next year, I'm planning to play Division I lacrosse at George Mason University, which is just outside of DC, but on the Virginia side. So I'm planning on majoring in dentistry, but that might change. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity to do service learning. And thank you guys for your time and support.
Good morning, Rotarians. I'm Jamie Cosman, another one of the service learning coordinators, along with Marty, Gina, and Brittany, who and we just want to thank you for always welcoming us. Another site that's new for us is actually a directly came from Rotary. Marty and I were at a meeting last year, and Colette from the Boys and Girls Club was here, and Marty and I talked to her afterwards, and we were able to connect. And so we have Jake is a young man serving with them. And it's going awesome so far, and we actually hope to be able to expand that even to multiple different of the club's locations. In addition, we are planning and kind of hammering down the details for our Camp Ledgewood overnight trip in October, and we would love to have some Rotarians there if you're able to on that Wednesday. We'll be doing service from about 9 to noon. And that's Wednesday, October 12th, if anybody's interested. And the other thing that we are so working hard to bring back for the first time since 2019, because we were one of the first trips canceled when in March of 2020. But we're really working hard to get that Southern Ohio trip back, that week-long trip in the spring, and making that happen again. Marty's done a lot of the legwork, just those early feelers, reaching out what that would look like and how that will go. On a more current front, we've got Ellie, and Ellie's just in kind of an outstanding role model for service learning so far this year. Not only did she do some summer volunteering, but she's also doing a great job over at McDowell. So here's Ellie.
Hi, I'm Ellie, one of the service learning students. I'm at McDowell in a preschool classroom. My site supervisor is Miss Ashburn. So I'm in an integrated classroom with half of the students are like typical students, and the other half are students on like IEPs, special needs, etc. So in the classroom, it's a lot of the basics. They're preschoolers, so they're still learning a lot. But I'm there as like an extra set of hands. There's 2 aides already in the class, but they could definitely use more help. They're doing a lot of like patterns, activities, cutting, gluing, very basic. But when I'm not working with the kids and going to recess, I'm actually doing a lot of lesson planning right now. My site supervisor is about to go on a maternity leave. So I've been doing a lot of planning ahead so that I can actually help her out while she's gone. But another thing that she's been helping me do a lot is I've been doing a lot of like learning with the computer. So I've been doing like slideshows and actual presentations for her classroom for when she's gone. So that should help out the sub a lot. But over the summer, I did a lot of work with Hudson Youth Lacrosse, and I'm actually bringing that up again in October. So it's a lot of coaching, teaching, spiritual support there, but I love lacrosse. I play lacrosse too. I'm not committed anywhere, just playing for fun, but I do that as well. Outside of school, I do small volunteering, a part of 100 Girls Strong, which is local. It's supporting women that need help. They choose a different group to help each year, 100% voluntary. You basically just go to support different like women that are pregnant and homeless, or all different women that are struggling. But thank you so much for your time. We are so grateful for service learning and everything it brings us. So thank you for listening.
Information about that October 12th.
Yes.
I'll get it out to
Definitely.
us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate so much Hudson High School Service Learning Group. And now David Basil is coming to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, President Joe, or should I say President Father Joe. Good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests. It's my pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Thom Sheridan. Thom is the interim city manager for the City of Hudson. And as I always have explained to folks, local government is truly where the rubber hits the road. Thom is the former city engineer here prior to becoming the assistant city manager, and now the interim city manager certainly knows that. Thom is a graduate from Youngstown State, graduated in 1990 with a bachelor's degree in applied science, majoring in civil engineering. He was in private engineering consultant for 7 years He worked in several states and communities, including those in Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. He has worked in state and local government for the past 28 years as a design engineer, assistant city engineer, assistant service director, assistant city manager, and now Hudson's interim city manager. He has extensive construction, design, and administrative experience. He has obtained, and I can attest to this personally, and it's a rather astounding number, responsible for attaining $30 million in grant funding for Hudson since he became a member of the city staff in 2008. Many projects in our community would not have happened without Tom's expertise and diligence in getting that funding. He has been married to his wife, Christine, for 31 years. They have a daughter and 3 sons. He is a professional engineer in Ohio, licensed in Ohio and Pennsylvania. He's a professionally licensed surveyor in Ohio, a certified floodplain manager in Ohio, and also has his Class 2 water distribution operator license. In his time, spare time, what little he has, enjoys jogging, kayaking, biking, and hiking. Please join me in giving a warm Rotary welcome to Hudson City Manager Thom Sheridan.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Dave, for that entrance. Today, Dave Basil asked me to speak to all of you because I think he had somebody that was unable to come today, and he knows how I can always talk about projects in the city at the drop of a hat. If you see me on the street, by all means, always, ask me and I'll be more than happy to tell you if I know it, and more than likely I should know it. I don't want, I guess, everyone to feel though that I only do projects. The people that work for the city are also is very important to me, always have been. Our staff is great. The city is blessed to have a great staff. We're blessed to have great citizens. And I'm happy to just give a quick overview of the projects here in a second, but I did want to talk about just where we are in the city these days. The city is still financially strong. I know it sounds like a broken record since I've been here in 2008. We've always said that. We have a AAA bond rating, which is one of the highest in the state of Ohio. And our staff in the finance department does a great job of making sure that we get all the income taxes and we budget 5 years out with city council and the mayor. Always have done that since I've been here in 2008. And that has been great because we can plan ahead on these projects that all the city council would like us to do and determine how they're going to impact our bottom line. We have some challenges nowadays with income taxes. Obviously, people are working from home. Some of our largest income tax revenues are coming from people working from home that are CEOs of some corporations. So it's been a little bit of an adjustment. In the old days, you used to try to keep that steel mill or that rubber plant in your town. Sometimes now we want to keep certain residents in our town too. So it's a different mindset. Communication, as I was mentioning, a few members in the cafeteria there, is becoming one of the biggest thing and challenges, and also which I love challenges and trying to solve problems. But communication to me has become one of the greatest things we need to work on and concentrate on, because you see a change in it. Everyone used to have the hub. We don't have the hub. We want to replace the hub. We're currently looking at methods on how we can do that in a digital format. Obviously, the City of Hudson is not a print shop or an Akron Beacon Journal. So we're looking at methods on that. I have staff that's been working on that for several months, and we hope we have come up with a plan that'll help at least get everybody the information that they would have taken out of the hub. Last but not least, and just in a general sense of all the things we're working on in the city, cybersecurity has become a huge thing, and it involves insurance. Our city is being more or less monitored by the insurance companies to know how well we're doing a good job at cybersecurity. And I'm glad to say that the city is in good shape. We're secure, and we're always going to be, monitoring that. We're never going to become complacent. But other communities and other agencies are paying a lot more because they don't do training with their staff. They don't do all this educating that we're doing. So those are kind of the new things that we're seeing in the future, and I wanted to bring those up to everybody. Going
going over projects, and I apologize, I gave everybody a map. Hopefully you can read it. I know it's a lot of information on 111 by 17. The map we have here, and for Thomas in the back, him and I agreed we'll try to, you know, I'll go from the north down to State Route 303, but just to give everyone their bearings, you know, this is Boston Heights over here, Twinsburg Township, Streetsboro, and Stowe on the south. This is State Route 91 and 303 right here in the center of our town. So the color coding is, you know, different colors of different types of projects. We have the, I guess, magenta is the road projects. Greens are the sidewalk and trails, and then all the rest of them are down there too. So basically that's the map that we use, and it's a visual map of more or less, as you see at the top of that, it's the 2022 through 2026 construction projects, which are in our capital budget. So this is just gives you a visual representation of that. Several years ago, the previous council, probably in the 16-17 range, 2016, 2017, wanted to get done with all the concrete roads and get those overlaid. And I'm looking at one of those fellow councilmen in the back. That was one of his projects that he wanted to make sure we did. It was a great idea. Those roads having a concrete base was tremendous to have that asphalt on top. So we got rid of all the concrete roads and overlaid them with asphalt, which makes the rideability great. We also now have, if not the highest rated roads in the state of Ohio. So we're around a 78. We check it every year. 100 is brand new. So average roads in our city are at a 78. Now you have to take out the state routes because we don't maintain those to that level of resurfacing the state of Ohio does. But we're constantly working with the state to make sure that they're bringing our tax dollars back to Hudson. One last thing on the road program. When I came here in 2008, we were receiving 67 cents approximately per dollar that the citizens were putting in gas and license plate taxes to the state. We were bringing 67 cents back for every dollar. We have gone up and over. I think the lowest we've been is 180% now. So we're getting more bang for the buck. I don't know the exact number as it stands today, but I'm sure it's well above 200% of what we're putting in taxes that we're bringing back in grants. And that just comes from good stewardship from the council, from the mayor, from the citizens, and from our staff. And I don't want to take all the credit for that. It's just been wonderful that we've been able to do these projects. And as a civil engineer by trade, it was great to be able to come to a city that I could do this wide berth of different projects from storm, roadway, water line, and all that. And I really have been at home since I've been here. One of the other major improvements that we're doing in the community these days, now that we have our roads, we're going to consistently keep those road ratings up high. So I don't want you to think we just forgot about them and we're going to let them become deteriorated. They're not. We're budgeting the amount of money that we'll need to maintain that 78. So that just take that away from the road program. The city council is asking us to look into the storm improvements, which we've been doing for city council since the Great Flood, as we'll call it, in 2003 on July 21st. We had approximately 7 or 11 inches of rain at that time. I was in another community south of here when it happened, but we got hit just as hard as Hudson. But city council is looking at even adding more stormwater projects onto our budget, and we'll be looking into doing some multiple properties that get affected by stormwater that no one resident can take care of. They're on private property. City council wanted to help those people out. So we're going to be doing some more stormwater projects. We have a giant project going on at Barlow Community Center right now that was paid for by Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. It was a grant, and what that entailed was Oviatt Street was the dam. I know that's hard to believe, but when we went to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources back in 2015-ish, they said, you got to get rid of that road. And I said, well, we can't get rid of that road. That road is, emergency services are right there. We got to come up with another idea. So we put our heads together as a staff, and we determined if we move the dam into the pond, and we got Northeast Ohio to pay for that, which, you know, I'm very grateful for them. We are now in compliance with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Our emergency services are safer because they can get trucks over that, and police cars and ambulances. And we are also giving a more safety to the highest
property value in the sense in our city. Not that that's a main factor, but during the 03 floods, the downtown flooded. So this is a perfect place to have stormwater management just upstream of Brandywine Creek that goes through the downtown area and doesn't affect all of our businesses. So that's the work you'll see out there. It's supposed to be finished later this year. Real quick, I'm going to kind of go over some of the main topics that we're working on these days. In 2020, City Council asked us to take a look at the sidewalks and trails and try to get some way of pumping more work into the city and get more sidewalks done. So everything you see on green on this map, currently right now, up at the top there, that long green line is Middleton Road. We are putting in a sidewalk currently. We have a contractor on board to go from 91 near the Montessori School all the way out to the 480 bridge, which is near the Streetsboro border. And then it goes up Stowe Road a little ways. And then next year, we're going to do Middleton Road from 91 over to Valley View. We're also going to be doing down here at the middle of the page at North Hayden, the sidewalk ends. And we're going to take a sidewalk all the way out to Streetsboro's Corporation Limit at Stone Road on 303. And then we're also going to take a sidewalk up from 303 north to Hudson Springs Park. So in essence, a lot of the streets have sidewalks on them, like Hudson Aurora Road and other parts of Stowe Road. These are going to be big links. Back when we looked at and this is all part of our comprehensive plan, back 10 years ago now, I guess, the former CD director, community development director, and myself, when I was city engineer, we wanted to get sidewalks on 91 and 303 at that time. And if we could do that, we felt that we called it the cross. If we could get that cross completed in the city, then a lot of residents could get to the downtown, to the schools, and to other sidewalks. That was our first step. With this new 2020 plan, we are doing that. So you'll be able to go from Twinsburg Township all the way down to Monroe Falls, and on a sidewalk if you care to. Stowe has all their sidewalk done, and I'll get to it in a second by Drug Mart, but that's the missing link of sidewalk that we need to put in. We will be running a sidewalk out 303 to Terex Road at the left side of the page here by the big church. Excuse me. But we're waiting to do the water line replacement first. We're doing the water line replacement next year. And then right at the end of that, we're going to put the sidewalk in all the way out to Terex Road. So you'll be able to have a sidewalk from Terex Road at our Village of Boston Heights all the way to downtown. Next year, we'll be doing all the way to Streetsboro. So 303 will be done, and 91 will be done next year after I get to another project that we got funded by ODOT here in a second. Pedestrian safety has always been a backbone of what we do, but it has really come to forefront. And sidewalk, projects like this have helped out pedestrian safety. But in our downtown, we're keeping an eye on close vehicle pedestrian crashes. So I just want you to know that that's been a hot topic for about the last 2 or 3 years. And the city has done a study in that downtown. We also got a grant from ODOT in front of the McDonald's on 303 from Boston Mills Road to Atterbury. And basically, they're going to be looking at ideas there with the lane configurations and how pedestrians move in that area to make that corridor safer. And we should see that probably within a year. One thing I do want to mention, if you get a chance in front of Chipotle, which is on 303 at Atterbury, and then also over at the clock tower, we put in lead-off crosswalks. And what those are is when you walk up to the crosswalk and you push the button and whatever lane's green is fine. As soon as that lane goes red, you have approximately 5 to 7 seconds to walk across the street and no traffic is moving at those two intersections. We're trying them out there. I imagine they're probably, with these pedestrian safety studies on all of these major corridors, you're going to probably see those a lot more. And that is a safety feature, and it has been well vetted out in other states and other communities that it does help to reduce any pedestrian issues. Utility extensions, I mentioned, is another thing that our council is looking at. We're looking at water lines currently and fiber to the residents. We're looking to partner up with a private contractor, and they would do the system. They would also bill the customers, and they would be one of our biggest fiber customers to our system, which the fiber system goes to all the businesses mainly right now, most of the business, I should say. And this would be fiber to all residents. So watch for that in the coming months and weeks. We're going to be putting out an RFP on that. We have a council ad hoc group, and council would really like to see about getting fiber lines to the residents, especially since everybody's working from home these days. Mentioned the water line extensions. We'll be talking about that next week with City Council and the kickoff to our budget discussion, which is great. I got to say, again, kudos to the city. When I came here, most communities do budget discussions after January 1. This city, since I've been here in 08, has done budget discussions in the summer with staff, and then we take it to council in the fall. So we're really ahead of the game. And believe it or not, we do save money on that because we have a budget in place. And I'll just mention the road program. We put our road program out in early January when the asphalt plants are closed. They don't open until mid-April about. And long story short, contractors are at the beginning of the year looking for work. So we get the best prices. And those are just little tricks I've learned over my career on how we save money. And I don't know how much money we've saved over the years. It's just been, when I compare us to other cities, we're really well below them. Mentioned the budget discussions for capital start next week. A couple other things. The former Youth Development Center up on Hines Hill. We are putting in a grant to the federal government for a bridge over that railroad that will be submitted in early October. The grant's done. We're getting letters of support from different state and local community leaders. So that's hopeful. We do have someone interested in the former Youth Development Center and developing that into commercial. I can't go into more detail than that at this point. We're still meeting with them in an executive session, but hopefully that'll get off the ground and we can get that property sold and developed and hopefully bringing in more income tax revenue. The downtown phase 2, we put that on hold. We had 2 plans, as you all know. One plan came in from one developer, another plan came in from another developer, and the last one was at the beginning of this year. There were some changes made to that plan, and our city council was not satisfied with those changes from when the public looked at it last fall to when the developer gave it to us in early this year, which was February or March. And we asked the developer to take the plan back out to the residents and get their input on it because there was some major changes according to council. And council unanimously said they have to take it back to the public. The developer chose not to and withdrew their plan. So at this point, I have some ideas as the interim city manager right now to move that project forward. One of them is the comprehensive plan that the city is working on. We just appointed the board last night at council, and it's made up of 19 people along with our city council. And basically they're going to look at the comprehensive plan. It's something we look at every 10 years. It's what we are always planning to do in the city. Where do we want to be in 10 years? That's kind of a quick overview of the comp plan, but the comp plan will begin next month and it will probably finish up next fall with this committee. And my question to council is do you want to do downtown phase 2 with the comp plan, which is not a bad idea that you have 19 people from the citizens representing the citizens on board, or do you want to do it as a separate item? So in the next month, the downtown phase 2, that'll be the question to council, and hopefully we can move that forward. Summit County sanitary sewer, just real quick, they have for people in the Colony Park area, there is a pump station there at the park at the end of Stony Hill Drive. And they have to run a truck out there every time it rains. They're going to hopefully get that done this year. They're replacing that pump station. All the work's been done, and that'll be a big help to those people in that neighborhood because they get tired of seeing that truck show up every time. They all claim you can tell when it's going to rain because the truck shows up about an hour before. The historical area, the Summit County is working in that area, which is made up of, I'll point to it up here, but basically in this area of Hudson by WRA, College Street, Chapel, and Baldwin. That area has a lot of clean water connections, which from the houses. In 1972, there was the Clean Water Act. Basically, they had to have those pulled out. These houses were built hundreds of years ago, some of them. So basically, the county is going to go in and take those clean water out. Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, again, gave us a grant for that on private property, which was astounding that we got that. The county got it. So that's great news. They're going to help out those people. they take those clean water connections out, they put them into the storm sewer. And then we're also going to be doing a project, as I was talking to Ron about, is going to be right by Heinen's, and we're going to run an interceptor sewer, which is going to help alleviate the flooding that happens down on Owen Brown. And then we're going to reconstruct Owen Brown Street. It has a brick base that is deteriorated, and we paved it in 2009, and the road hasn't held up because the base is bad. So we have to replace the road in its entirety. And that project will be done after the county gets out of there with their sewer. One last item is quiet zones. Quiet zones are railroad crossings where they don't have to blow their horn. So we have 2 crossings in town that they constantly blow their horn. One is at Stowe Road and Norfolk Southern, and the other one is out at Hines Hill and the Norfolk Southern Railroad. Both of those locations, they currently blow their horn. Obviously, if we get an overpass at Hines Hill, they won't have to blow their horn anymore. But in the meantime, council asked for quiet zones to be installed. You might see them up in Twinsburg. They have a number of them up there, but basically there's like plastic batons down the center of the road. And with that type of design, the railroad cars don't have to blow their horn. So you'll hear the trains going by, but you won't hear them blow their horn. The sidewalk projects, just so you know, is $20 million in local funding. Council approved for 5 years. So we're doing about $4 to $5 million a year, depending on the project. And then, as I mentioned, the water line projects, we're going to be talking to council about in next week to see if they want to extend water line into the old former township areas. And last but not least is the pickleball and tennis courts out at Barlow Farm Park. Those are going to hopefully be opened up next month. So you'll be able to play pickleball or tennis out there at the park. And with that, happy to answer any questions. Hopefully I'm on time.
You mentioned about the Hudson Hub Times not covering things locally. How do you see HCTV through the stations and the internet helping to fill that gap?
That's a great question, Jenny. HCTV, I would hope, can do a program, because I think a lot of people of my age are used to seeing TVs and papers, newspapers. And now that the newspaper's been taken away, I sit and watch the news still. My kids all laugh at me and say, you know, why aren't you just watching the news on your phone? And I go, I don't know. It's just that the thing I've always done. I watch the news and it puts me in a half hour of what I'm wanting to get of the news of the day. But HCTV is a great resource we have here. It's one of the best cable television networks in any community. A number of them around us don't even have them. But we are very proud of that, and we would incorporate the communication with the HCTV staff and hopefully have more weekly programs to give our residents those up-to-date items that they would have read in the hub. That's all. My main goal with the hub is I think a lot of people may not have agreed with it all the time or whatever, but they like the fact that they could get it, take a look at it real quick. Sometimes you just set it aside, but other times you read an article that's interesting to you. So I hope to replace that with a combination of HCTV and our website and any of the other medias that we send out, we push out to everybody. Good question.
Yeah, I really appreciate the sidewalk situation and the improvement. I bicycle a lot down Barlow to the bike and hike, and then around town quite a bit. I really like the multi-use trail that goes through Colony Park, which is great. And that upgrade is fantastic, because it was kind of brutal to go on that thing before, but now it's really nice and smooth. I guess my question is, what's going on with cycling safety in town? Apart from, I mean, we don't really use the sidewalk. So when I saw that going down in Barlow, I originally thought, wow, this is going to be like a multi-use trail, but it's really more sidewalk, isn't it? And Barlow doesn't have much of a shoulder. So that help you out in terms of question? Sure.
Barlow Road, when we resurfaced it, maybe it might even be 8 years now, we added to that roadway to give that shoulder a little bit of extra, about 2 feet, because there used to be the white line and then there was the ditch. And I know one of our former councilmen said, hey, I'll take 2 feet over 0 feet. And I said, well, that's about all I can do within the means of the cost of this project. But we did widen it. We did put in that, as you mentioned, as a sidewalk. We did want to have it 8 feet along there. The reason for that piece in front of Ellsworth, we just recently got approval from the Metro RTA, and I'd like to point right here. Here's Barlow Road. And right now, this is Ellsworth Golf Course right in this area. This green line is a new trail we're building currently. So it's going to take you to into our downtown. We would have loved to have come down this railroad. We had a grant for that. The state said, Norfolk's not leaving, so what's your other option? And we still want to give you guys the grant. So we had to come up with another option, which we weren't going to go through the middle of Ellsworth. We decided to put it on the west side of Ellsworth Golf Course. And that's why you see this behind Nicholson, comes up here to East and West Case. And then those people can get downtown. That's just one leg that we're doing right now. The piece that we put in along Ellsworth was the wider one, was for a reason, is because we were hopeful that we could get this piece all the way down, and this goes all the way down to Akron. Stowe and Silver Lake just got a grant about 2 or 3 years ago for their portion down in Cuyahoga Falls, comes up through Silver Lake and through Stowe and ends at Springdale Drive. This railroad is owned by Metro from Barlow down. Barlow North is owned by Norfolk Southern. So we've been talking with Metro RTA. We're going to get this rail line now converted from a rails to trails. And we just submitted this in 2021, November, we submitted for this grant and we got it with Stowe. So this will be able to take you all the way down there. And then one other point about what you were mentioning was the bike and hike. We had originally wanted to go from Nicholson out here to the hike and bike, and you can't see it on here, but it's about right here. And in this case, we decided after we got this approval that we're kind of getting that done. That's why we made this wider, and then this will come down. It'll need signed for people, but I also want to make sure that everybody knows, we all know where 76 and Route 8 and 77 are in Akron. It's big interchange. Central interchange, as it's called. This is going to be the central interchange because currently there's a bike and hike trail that goes all the way to Cleveland and all the way over to Kent, east-west. With this one, it's going to go all the way down to Akron. So to me, this is the central interchange. And I want to make sure that everybody keeps remembering that because we want to bring those people into our downtown. They're a segment of our the customers that people are going to see in our downtown. We want to get signage. We want to tell them about the farmers market and other things that are going on in our downtown at any given time. And then hopefully get the east, west, and north side people to come to Hudson. And then the long-term goal is to get it out Prospect Street over the turnpike. We're putting in a bridge with the turnpike. I believe in 2025, there'll be a separate sidewalk, that path that's up there on Prospect will be extended all the way up to Hines Hill. We'll determine if we get the bridge at that point. And then it's supposed to go all the way out to Boston Heights where it does connect back up to that same Metro trail in Boston Heights. So sorry to be over there and not over here, but I wanted to point to that. That is a good question. And those are some of the trails that we have coming up.
So first of all, thank you for all the great work of you and your staff. Being on the school board, we like to say that we'll take all the credit for the great work that our staff and teachers and so forth do. And I just want to say that, over the past few years with all the ups and downs politically, I feel like our Hudson City staff has really just kept their focus in these projects don't all of a sudden appear a day later. These must have been planned for years, as you said, or at least on the board. So thank you for all that. And also thank you for those lights where you hit the button and it starts flashing. It's wonderful. I saw someone complain that how they had to get stopped. I guess they probably added 5 seconds to their commute because of a flashing light. But to my mind, those are great, especially in front of the high school and so forth. Question I have is this. So we, at the district, had the stream restoration project, which basically took a ditch and turned it back to its original flora and landscaping And so that's not only an educational thing, but it's also prevented a lot of flooding. And so I'm wondering, as rather than doing kind of remedial things to try and prevent flooding, what are we doing up front? So my understanding is, for example, when someone clear cuts trees and has a grass area, that grass is almost like asphalt. Water just, it doesn't absorb water. So I'm just wondering, are there, as we do these various developments, and particularly as we're talking about at the YDC property, is there is there rules, or is the development going to be done in a way that mitigates this kind of stormwater runoff and preserves as much natural land as possible?
Great question, and sorry if I overran that. That stormwater management in our town is one of the best in the state. When we all talk about stormwater, I just want to say we had a 300-year storm event. Once every 300 years came through in 2003, according to the county records and the amount of inches of rain that fell that day. We had some problems. That city council back then decided to implement a program to start doing repairs. Prior to 1985, you didn't have to do stormwater management in subdivisions. So Colony Park, I'll pick on them for example. They didn't have any stormwater management. So city council back then, I believe in 05, 06, before I came here, they put in the 2 big ponds at Colony Park. And that was to help manage the stormwater that goes down Brandywine Creek and was part of the reason it flooded the downtown. New developments, if we can, just like Middleton Park Estates way at the northeast, and then Reserve at River Oaks, Chad's Ford, Canterbury, I'm naming all of them since about 1985. In Northeast Ohio and Summit County, they had to do stormwater management. We have, since 1999, when we became a city and we instituted engineering standards in 1999, we have the strictest, I think, stormwater policy. And from the 03 floods, I think it works really well from what I've seen in floods that we've had since then. But long story short, we hold back a 25-year storm event. So if a 25-year storm event came in that wooded area and it sinks into the ground, and if it's wooded and grassed, it'll help, the ground will be a sponge and take it up and goes into the water table. When you come in and pave it and put roofs and everything else, what we require is somebody builds a pond underground, could be a detention pond, retention pond, but they have to build stormwater ponds. And that stormwater pond, when a 25-year storm event comes through, they have to hold that storm back, not to the 25-year pre. They have to hold it back to the 2 or 1 year. So that's what really sets these ponds that are become very large, and they're very efficient. They hold the 50 to 50 and 100 to 100, which is standard. But again, that 25 to 2 is every storm up to a 25-year storm event is going to be held back to a 1 or 2 year storm, depending on where they're at. And Reserve at River Oaks, Canterbury, Chad's Ford, all those new developments, they all have those. And any new development that goes in from the Ramco site on Hudson Industrial Parkway, I'm trying to think of some of the other new ones out on Boston Mills and at YDC, all would be required to have stormwater management. So they would not be adding any more stormwater to the system, and they're actually reducing it. And the project you mentioned out at the high school that I was one of the first I worked on was the Hudson High School Land Lab, we called it. And we did get about 1 million gallons of stormwater in that one, I believe. And that was great. And it kept it natural looking. We are doing a similar project, just so everybody knows, the work at Morris Road, north of Owen Brown, on the east side, across from the villas. The contractor's doing a very similar project, and we got a 319 grant for that one too. The one you're mentioning, the schools in the city collaborated on, as we've done with many projects. I love the schools. We hopefully always help you guys in any way we can, and we are looking to put more of those. Those are called RRFB flashing crosswalks, and we did ask council to put a couple of those around the high schools and the other schools where the younger pedestrians are, and they may be not as familiar with how they cross streets and stuff. So.
Thanks for your usual very good update. I'm interested, we have traffic, a lot of traffic at Hudson, more people, more traffic. How is the adaptive signaling going on? And what, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The nickname for adaptive signals is smart signals. And about 4 or 5 years ago in Pittsburgh, they were testing this, and it really has now taken off. So we were looking to put in a smart signal system in our city. And what that is in layman's terms is it's like having a traffic police officer at every intersection. And they analyze intersections and legs of those intersections 10 times a second. Click your fingers that fast. Nobody can do that. So basically it's a lot of data, and the system talks to each other. And I'm sorry, I'm a layman kind of guy, but I give names to things. So when this signal here at Terex and 91, we'll be talking to Barlow, we'll be talking up here to this one, we'll be talking to 91 and 303, Library Street, Atterbury. They're all talking to each other. Let's just play a scenario here. Traffic's coming down this way, you have 20 cars. This signal's looking down this way, it's looking up Boston Mills, and it's looking down East Case, and it's looking that way. There's more cameras on the poles. And what that signal is doing is determining which, just like a traffic police officer, which one of my legs has more cars coming, and I want to get those cars through. Call it a funeral procession if you'd like, whatever you want to say. They basically will turn these guys quicker red and let these cars go through. And in the meantime, they're analyzing who's making a left or right and a straight ahead. And let's just say all 20 cars go straight ahead. They tell the McDonald's signal, they'll tell the Atterbury at Chipotle signal, hey, there's 20 cars coming your way. And then when they get there, there might be only 18 because 2 of them went into the McDonald's and Acme store. And when they get to Atterbury, Atterbury says, oh, well, I only got 18 of those cars. And basically they're constantly talking to each other, and they're trying to move the traffic through the community as fast as they can. We were going to pay for this all out of our own pocket for about $1.8 million. We applied to the state. The state gave us a grant, and now we have a grant to do that. 16 signals we're going to start with. I think we have 30, don't quote me on that, but it's around 30 signals in our system now. But mainly the heart of our town, 91 from Terex all the way up to Prospect by St. Mary's Church, over here at Boston Mills Road, all the way out to Hayden, and then a couple other incidentals. But all those signals will be part of the smart signal technology. The state gave us $2.4 million to do that. And, you know, when I first came here, they were building bypasses, as you might recall. This is one of them here, Veterans. It's very costly. The 3 turn lanes we put up at 91 at Herrick, Hines Hill, and Valley View cost us and the state, you guys, the taxpayers, myself, about $5 to $6 million. These signals are going to be $2.4 million. I'm not adding any pavement. I'm not adding any maintenance. And it's not me. We're not adding any of those things that are long-term issues. And I can't widen the roads. Last time I checked, there's a clock tower at Aurora Street and historical buildings across the street. I can't add lanes. So as a civil engineer, what do we build? Anybody been to Norfolk? Tunnels. Okay, we tunnel underneath stuff. You can tunnel, you can bridge, you can bypass. But if I bypass, am I not taking away potential customers from the people on North Main Street? Now I'm hurting merchants. And those are all small mom and pop type merchants. This is by far the best alternative. I went down to Pittsburgh 5 years ago to look at it. I came back home. I was excited all the way up the turnpike. I couldn't wait. We're saving money. We're getting the most efficiency out of our roads that we can. And it's now been tried and true. So I'm looking forward to it. It's supposed to be implemented next year. And again, it's just one of those things that, you know, the technology has finally caught up with the needs of all the communities. So. Hi, George.
Thanks for coming, I gather, on a rather short notice. Question, there's a great need for the kind of residential housing that Phase 2 would provide. The city is now a parted company with 2 developers, premier developers. One of them is suing the city. Doesn't that create a chilling effect on future developers wanting to participate with the city in that kind of project?
It could. I guess that's subjective. I feel the city didn't do anything wrong. We were always forthright with the residents. We had multiple public meetings with the first group. We had 2 meetings with the second group. It was short. They voluntarily came to us and said, we would like to propose our plan. We looked at their plan. And as I mentioned, when it came in early this year, It was a different plan than what we had originally wanted. And council said, well, take it back to the residents, have another public meeting and determine if they're going to be acceptable. Because I would have to say in an informal poll, I felt we had about 75% of the people who came to the public meeting, which was probably around 200 in the two meetings, that they were in favor of the last concept plan. But when they made their revisions and brought it back to city council, council said they weren't in favor of it, but they were willing to put it out to the public. And the developer just said, I'm just going to go ahead and pull my plan. And he withdrew. So at that point, I felt that the common denominator was that, you know, the city should look at our own plan and put that through PC and see, you know, who we get based on the current market, is what kind of housing is marketable right now, put that plan together and then go out and entertain developers. So not that anybody did anything wrong, but you learn from your mistakes is the way I look at it. And I just felt that that was the common denominator that we didn't have control over, that maybe we could have control in the future, but we will be discussing it with city council in the coming month. So, but thank you, George.
This is a question about stormwater runoff. Historically, we have made certain assumptions about the nature of the storms and how many hundred years it's going to be before the next one. That's not going to work going into the future when we're having 2 or 3 inches of rain in 20 minutes. And that seems to be the establishing pattern and the projection for future storms, that they will become more violent and more impactful. So my question is, I noticed that there's not been any stormwater work done on Boston Mills. There's a lot of water along Boston Mills. And not only are we having local flooding because some of the areas weren't covered by pond requirements, but the ponds are being nutrified so that there's now huge algal blooms along some of those areas. So my question is then, how is the city capable of dealing with the more intensive short duration storms where everything runs off? Just about, there's very little percolation. It all ends up in whatever low-lying area there is. How are we coping with that? Are the existing modifications capable of managing it? And where we haven't made those, I don't see any orange stuff over on the left side of the map. So I know there are areas there that are vulnerable.
It's a good question. And again, back to Barlow Community Center right here. These are the two ponds, these two little orange circles right there. Basically, we are designing that to a 500-year storm event, because what Mimi mentioned was in the last 10 years, we're seeing 100-year storm events occurring more than once every 100 years based on statistics. So we decided to start making these regional ponds and these other designs that we're doing regionally to help hold back even more water, so that, for example, all of this area right here is Colony Park. And basically it all drains undetained except what goes through Colony. This is the end of Colony Park. This is the actual park, Colony Park. There's 2 ponds here and they drain in upstream of these 2 ponds. But the majority of this on 91, as you guys all know, this is Stony Hill. Reason it was called Stony Hill is top of the hill. And all that drains down. Well, here's another concern. Underneath the railroad tracks is a low spot. Next time you drive up 91, past yours truly, got a low spot right there. That's concerning to me. It's been concerning. 303, right past Summers Dry Cleaners, low spot right there at the railroad track. Both those locations are very concerning, because I want to make sure, and we have a plan to get this water diverted. There's no stormwater management here. So all of this that's coming down from Stony Hill, we want to get this water, take it, and we're going to take it over to the Veterans Park in the back is a wetland. It's a clean feature, so it's going to help clean the water. That's the other thing we do, not just manage stormwater, but we also try to help clean it for our creeks so that the fish and all other wildlife can have a good habitat. That's at Colony, or that's at Veterans Trail or Veterans Park right here. There's a pond. We're going to enhance that. We want to cut that water off by putting a pipe in there, and hopefully underneath the underpass, the emergency services are right here. We don't want to cut off their two means of ingress, egress from the center of town. So those are the reasons why we're looking at holding back more water here, which helps this 303. And then if we build this bypass in here, that'll be helping that too. And it might be on here. It's just hard to see with all these different color codes. But there is that's that little leg right there that's discharging into those ponds. Out by Boston Mills Road, the new private property stormwater management that I mentioned, council just approved earlier this year. Projects like you just mentioned, a lot of this is private property. This will give us that opportunity to go on those private properties, whereas before we never had that. And council just decided that we can't put our heads in the sand anymore and say this is private property and this is public property. It's all ground and it's all draining. So basically they put together legislation to allow us to go and do certain projects that meet certain criterias in order to help alleviate the things you're mentioning. But I do agree, 5 years ago, I might not have agreed that stormwater was more intense, but now I do. I mean, I'm seeing it. I can't put my head in the sand any longer. And that's why we came up with these different levels of improvement on regional ponds and culverts. Just as a side note, we're designing our major culverts. Used to be designed for a 25 to a 50 year. Now they're being designed from a 50 to 100 year. And basically that's just to help what Mimi's mentioning about changes in our environment. So.
Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Wow. Before you run off, I have a task for you to do, if you would. This is the Road-a-Buck raffle. The payout is $6. $6. That should buy you a soda, not even a beer. All right. So, but the jackpot's 190. So if you'd pull out a number for us. And good. That was probably mine. All right.
599 631 631
631. Nobody's getting up, so I got to pull out my tickets, I guess. Let's see. Oh my word! Guess what? Well done, you. All right, now you get you one more, if you would. See that black one? You got to hold this up. It shouldn't be hard, so I can't see it. And I'm going to try to get that black one in there. And I didn't. So there you go. Thank you so much. We appreciate so much what you do for this. What an informative talk. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. All right, Rotarians, go be great today. Make a difference in the world. Make somebody's life better.